Are you trying to make money off breeding bearded dragons? What's up, YouTube? So in this video, I actually want to kind of give you a breakdown of what the best pairing is for bearded dragons. Now, before I give you the best pairing, I also want to tell you this is going to be a very expensive pairing, mainly because the best is always going to be expensive. That's just how that goes, right? So when you're thinking about bearded dragons, there's literally like not that many things that you can have as far as bearded dragons go. So there's 4 recessives, there's hypo, there's translucent, there's wiblets, and there's zero. And then obviously there's some like recessive leathers and stuff, but nobody really works with that. There are some people out there that work with it, but it's not enough for me to even bring it up in this video. And then you have Dunner, you have Leatherback, you have Genetic Stripe. And with that said, there's not much going on as far as bearded dragon morphs go. But the most powerful pairing that you could have is a pairing that produces one of everything. And in the future, I hope to make this beautiful pairing that I am about to give away in this video. So if you already know where I'm going with this, I do have some Het Weerows that are going to be made available here in a couple weeks. And that is what's going to be the best pairing that you could have as far as bearded dragons go. So when you have Het Weerows, so if you have a Het Weero male paired to a Het Weero female, so you're going to have 25% of your offspring that's going to be zero, 25% of your offspring is going to be wiblets, and then out of that, because it's double recessive is a double recessive, you have 1 in 8 chance to hit both. So 1 in 8, that is all you need to make a Weero. Now, obviously, a Weero can sell anywhere from $700 to $1,200, depending on the morphs and genetics and everything like that. A Weero is also going to be no pattern, no color, just like zero. And wiblets also have no pattern, but they do have color. So you can't really see genetic stripes in any 3 of these different morphs, but you can still see Dunner, you can still see Leatherback, you can still see Hypo, and Translucent. So what is the genetic stripe in the pairing going to really do? It's just going to enhance any of the offspring that are not wiblets, zeros, or Weeros. So in this video, like I said, I'm going to give you the best pairing possible. And the best pairing, in my opinion, if you just want to buy 2 bearded dragons for breeding purposes, this is going to be your best pair. Find a male that's Het Weero. Find a female that's Het Weero. Find a combination of 2 that would make Leatherbacks, Dunners, Translucents, Hypos, and everything else in between, any combination that you may have as well. So it could be that you find a Hypotrans, Leatherback, Dunner, Het Weero, and then you also find a hypogenetic stripe, Het Trans, Het Weero. Whatever it is, the only thing is you also got to make sure that it's not visual zero to Het zero, visual wiblets to Het wiblets, and it also isn't trans to trans, leather to leather, Dunner to Dunner. The only one that you can do visual to visual is hypo, and even then you might not want to because maybe you want to get some non-visual hypos in the clutch as well. It really just, it's a preference for you. That just depends. For me, my preference is, so there's a lot of people out there that think that hypo really doles out bearded dragons, and in my opinion, I think the opposite. There are some colors, there are some morphs that really benefit from hypo. Yellow bearded dragons really benefit from hypo because yellows are pure and almost glowing whenever there's hypo in there. Red bearded dragons can benefit from hypo as well, but red bearded dragons usually turn out more orangey whenever hypo is present. So some people take the hypo out and just leave translucent because translucent makes a darker look to that red bearded dragon. The preference is yours. It doesn't really matter. You choose what you want to do. But by my opinion alone, I would suggest finding a bearded dragon that is going to be Het Weero, that also has Leatherback, Dunner, Hypo, Trans, or something like that. And then a pair for that bearded dragon would be another Het Weero that has another combination that benefits from the first dragon that you have. Now, I'll show you some screenshots in a video and a clip of all that, of what you can expect a Het Weero male to go for. So if you're looking for, let's say, a Hypo Leatherback Dunner, Het Weero, Het Trans. So this one's gonna have hypo. It's gonna be a visual hypo. It's gonna be Leatherback. It's gonna be Dunner, and it's gonna have 3 hets. It's gonna be het for trans, wiblets, and zero. So this dragon is not going to be a cheap dragon. None of the dragons that I'm going to mention in this video are going to be cheap dragons. They're all going to be pretty expensive. They're also going to be pretty hard to find. So you're going to have to look hard, and you're going to look everywhere you can and also this gives you time to save up, because if it's taking you that long to look, it might give you a little bit more time to save up. So really, I think it's beneficial to start looking at what it costs now and start saving up. And then once you're getting closer to it, see if you can find one. And then that way you can put a down payment on one and get one here in the next couple months or whatever. But I suggest starting with the female, because females do take 2 to 3 years for them to start breeding. And I say 2 to 3 years mainly because most people want to wait that 2-year mark. I've seen people wait 18 months or so like that. It really just depends on what you want to do. 18 months is minimum. 2 years is best. Anything over that is even better. So at least 2 years you're going to be waiting for that female to get to wait and be able to breed. So males take about a year. So you can really get a female now and wait a year to get a male. And really it also depends on the year. For the male, really depends on size and growth, because some males don't grow as fast and some males grow faster. Even though they might grow faster, they might not be sexually mature, and then they still won't try to pair, or they won't produce enough from that female that is 2 years old. So it really depends. Maybe get them both at the same time, but you can get the male later. It doesn't have to be at the same time. That's just my opinion. Let's say it's a clutch of 20. You get 5 zeros, but I also said that 1 in 8 is weros, so you're actually getting 3, right? Yeah, let's say you're getting 3 or 4 zeros out of that, because 1 in 8 is weros. So you're getting, let's say, $1,200 to $1,500 from the zeros. Same thing goes for wiblets. They usually range around the same price. So you're getting at least $3,000 from the wiblets and the zeros. And you're getting, let's say, 3 or 4 weros out of that clutch as well. And weros, like I said, start about $700 and go up to $1,200 or so. So let's say out of 3, you're getting anywhere from $2,100 to $3,000. So that is not that many dragons. Yes, you heard me correctly. That's not that many dragons. That's 3 or 4 zeros, 3 or 4 wiblets. Let's say 8 plus 2 or 3, let's say 3, just from those animals. You're looking at 12 animals. So that's half your clutch. On average, that's about half the clutch. You're looking at already making, at a minimum, you're looking at already making about $4,500. So that's pretty good. That's just one clutch. And females usually lay about 2 or 3. Some even lay like 6 clutches. And really, depending on the size of the clutch, depends also how much you're going to make. Because obviously, if it's a clutch of 30, 1 in 8 of 30 eggs is going to be a lot more than 1 in 8 of 14 eggs. So obviously, that depends as well on how many eggs you get. So with that said, if you're spending, let's say you can find a Het Wero male for about $500, and then you can find a Het Wero female for about $700. You've already spent $1,200 on that pair, and it's going to take you 2 years to get them up to size. So in those 2 years, you're probably already spending, with housing and everything else like that, you're probably spending $2 or $3,000 on that pair. So total, you've already spent, I would say, I would say you've probably already spent about $4,500 on that pair in the 2 years that you've kept them. Obviously, the cost of having them, the cost of feeding them, the cost of housing them, and then obviously purchasing them and everything else. So you've probably already spent that $4,500 on that pair. So the first clutch is strictly going to be paying yourself back for buying everything and feeding everything and keeping everything. And that is where the profit starts coming in. Because if she lays 2 clutches that season or 3 clutches that season, everything is mainly going to be profit minus the cost of feeding the babies. And usually the babies are not going to be so expensive to feed. Really the only time it gets really expensive to feed baby bearded dragons is when the profit margin is like real low. So if you're breeding $50 bearded dragons, $60 bearded dragons, $100 bearded dragons, your profit margin is so low that it really does cost more to feed based off the ratio of what you're going to make from the babies. Versus this way, you're going to be making probably like $6,000 off the babies. So if you're spending like $2,000 on feeding costs, then the first clutch is literally paid for itself and the parents and the housing and everything else that goes with it. The second clutch is paying for the feeding cost of everything. And then there's profit. The third clutch, same thing. So you might be making, from just 2 bearded dragons, you might be making on average, if you're getting 3 clutches, if they're like about 20, 24 eggs, on average, you're getting about $8,000 from your pair. And that's a year. So obviously that's just 2 dragons. If you want to go bigger, that's on you. But the only thing I have to say is it's going to be hard to sell those higher end bearded dragons. Mainly because there's not a lot of people out there that want to spend $1,000 on a bearded dragon. There's not a lot of people that want to spend $500 on a bearded dragon. But you might find them. And if you do, then that's literally profit in your pocket. And that's really the only thing that I want you to take out of this video, is that while it may be hard to find the pair initially, and then it may cost a lot of money to get everything set up for the 2 years until you have your first clutch, and then your first clutch is literally going to be paying you back, and then it also might be hard to sell everything that you have, you still have to think about, hey, it's just 2 bearded dragons, and if it can make me $8 grand a year off of 2 animals, then maybe I should try it. And I tell you this, because out of my experience, everything that I've done, it's going to be a hard try. If you cannot, it's not for everybody. It's going to be a hard try. Some people can't make it. And some people don't have $1,200 to invest into 2 bearded dragons, and then also have another $3 or $4 to invest in housing and feeding costs for 2 years. With that said, you should hit me up for Het Weirdos if you want to get into breeding bearded dragons and creating some crazy stuff. So, like I said, you're going to get, in this pair, you're going to get everything. You're going to get hypo, trans, leatherback dunner, genetic stripe, wiblets, zeros, Weirdos. It's going to be all over the place, and that's why this is the most powerful bearded dragon pair, in my opinion. Now, obviously, I don't suggest everybody do this because it's not for the faint of heart, and it's also very expensive. So, again, that's up to you, like I've already mentioned. So, that really depends on what you want to do. Do you want to wait 2 years after spending $4 grand, $5 grand on animals just to make $8 grand after profit? That's up to you. Is that a good return on investment for you? Like I said, it's different for everybody, and that's why most people have more than one bearded dragon. And with that said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that I put out in the future. And as always, peace.